Bolts Nation, welcome back once again to another episode of the Bolts Block Party. I am your host today, Greg Wolf, and Kobe is enjoying spring break with his kids. So what better way to fill both seats here as part of our 30th anniversary of Tampa Bay Lightning hockey with two of our favorites in Lightning history. They really don't need an introduction, but I'm going to introduce them anyways. The legend, Ben Bishop. Bish, please, is here. Teddy Purcell. It's amazing to see you both here as part of our Alumni Weekend. First, just thank you for being here. How cool is it for both of you guys to be back in the building?
It's awesome. Always fun coming back here and getting to see all these guys as well. It should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it. You know, once you retire, you keep in touch a little bit with your buddies, but it's harder with guys with families and living in different parts of the country.
Sure.
And just, I'm glad Tampa paid for the trip because Bish wouldn't have came. So it was really nice that they did that, and we get to see guys become good friends.
I actually have to thank you, Teddy, because I actually found this picture from 10 years ago. You actually came to my birthday party at Ducky's with Keith Ali, so I just wanted to thank you for actually showing up to my birthday party.
Happy birthday, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It was 10 years ago, almost to the date, so I just wanted to thank you for that. But, Bish, let's, both of
Just
you
a man
guys.
of the people.
Yeah, right. He is a man of the people.
Never missed his birthday party.
30 years of Lightning hockey. You both, played an instrumental role during your time here. But let's fast forward to now. We'll get to the stuff in the past, but I think our fans want to know, where are they now? As they always ask, what are you doing with your lives now post Lightning hockey? So we'll start with you, Teddy. What's been going on in your life lately, man?
Gearing up to be a first-time father.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah,
he can talk to us about
that.
Yeah, so
I asked him some tips on the way over.
Nice, congrats.
Bish got a couple of young boys, too.
We're
having a boy in June.
Awesome.
So getting ready for my world to be flipped upside down in both good and bad way.
Sure.
But we're living out in California. I signed with the Kings my last year in the league, and then kind of forgot how much I loved it out there by the beach. Ended up meeting my wife, who's from out there, and the rest is kind of history. So it's out there hanging. I do a little part-time work now. The Montreal Canadiens are trying to recruit a bunch of us Lightning because we're such good guys.
I was going to say, so that would be you, Vinny,
Marty. Yeah, we're trying to get the band back together a little bit. Tampa wouldn't hire us, so we're trying to go back to Montreal.
Fair enough.
Doing that a little part-time. So it's good to be kind of in the game a little bit. It's my first year doing it and seeing how it goes. So.
What exactly are you going to be doing with the organization?
I can't really tell you that. It's really top secret.
Like top secret. You have to kill us.
Yeah.
And your wife, she's a gold medalist?
I used to be the best athlete in my house.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. So
she's volleyball?
Yeah, beach volleyball. She won gold last year in Tokyo.
Amazing.
So it was the first time I had the USA gear on. I was actually a USA fan. They played Canada. I was rooting against them. So it was a lot of fun.
Very cool. And Bish, what's been going on with you since you've hung up the skate, so to speak, in the professional world?
We're still in Dallas. Part of the Buffalo Sabres organization right now.
Doing what?
I'm still an active player.
Getting paid.
Getting paid.
No, so still in Dallas, and then getting ready for our third boy coming April 30th.
Congratulations.
So just kind of preparing for that.
Were you doing some stuff? I want to say I saw you doing some stuff in the broadcast booth a little bit there for the Dallas organization. Is that something you're maybe future pursuing?
Last year I did it at the end of the season in the playoffs and a couple of times during the regular season when Razor, the color guy, got COVID. So I did it a few of the desk jobs and whatnot. But no, that was last year.
No.
Haven't done it this year. It was a good experience, but I don't see that in the future.
Okay. What's some dad advice you can give Teddy? Obviously, he's going to be going through it in the first year. Like, what's some solid dad advice you can throw this guy?
Get your sleep.
I mean, it's solid advice. I mean, I have kids myself. That is one thing you're probably going to miss a little bit of is the sleep. How many teeth combined have you guys lost?
8. Just the 2.
The 2 in the front, right?
Yeah.
When was that? That was a few years ago, right? Took a puck right to the.
This was a while ago now, but yeah.
I mean, right
Toronto.
to the. God, man, I just. You guys, you're warriors truly on the ice. So let's, again, we have a lot
At
of new
least I got
fans.
mine back.
I mean, you
Still
did.
not.
I'm still working on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's expensive too, man. Dental work.
Yeah, I know. I used to have the flipper and then got lost in the shuffle recently, but we're getting married next summer, so it's a good excuse for me to actually go to the dentist for the next 4 or 5 months and stop delaying the inevitable of getting them done.
I mean, you heard it right there, Lates. So here's the deal. We have a lot of new fans. You guys were a part of the organization. Bish, obviously, you being one of our legends. And I say that because if you look at the stat sheet, so to speak, just for our new fans out there, you still rank first all time among Tampa Bay Lightning goalies with the best career games against average, 2.28 with goals in a season. Best career save percentage, best save percentage in a season, still ranked first time on the Tampa Bay Lightning goalies list. Ranked second time among Lightning goalies with games played, saves, minutes, shutouts, wins, and wins in a season. Obviously, 3-time Vezina Trophy finalist as a top goaltender. Also, if you guys didn't know this, the tallest goaltender to ever play in the NHL, I believe, at a height of 6'7".
Yeah,
did right. I pretty much wrap that one up?
Surprised those stats are still there. I thought Vassy took them all by now.
Right,
that's impressive.
That's impressive. So obviously, we know you were a huge part of this organization in the building to get us to that point where we've been able to be back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. What do you most take away from your time here with the team? And I also want to know, too, you saw Vazzy at a young age, right, playing behind you. What did you see in Vazzy that we all now see today, but what did you see in his game back then?
I mean, I think when we got here, it was, more the culture, just the guys like Teddy and Nate Thompson and Stammer and Marty and Vinny and those guys. When you came in here, you saw the culture that they'd built with Bugsy as well. Yeah. It was a good group, and then the winning started coming along, and you could see the fire in all the guys' eyes to take that next step. And every year I was here, we just kind of seemed to get better and better and better. And obviously they took that next step when Vassy came in. I'll never forget. I tell my my wife now. I remember the first time I saw Vassy play. I don't know if it was training camp or whatnot. I was like, ooh, this guy's good. Yeah. Get ready to move because we're not going to be around here long. And you could tell right from the start.
What was it that, you're a goalie, so what were you seeing in his game that right away you're like, this kid's got it?
Well, where do you start? The size, the athleticism, the quickness, and then I guess just the eagerness to be the best. You could see it right from a young age. He wanted to be the best. I think when he was in Syracuse, he didn't even own a TV in his apartment. Right. He was just solely focused on, getting better and making the NHL. So you could see it right from the start that he was going to be a special goalie, and I honestly think he'll probably go down as one of the best ever.
You agree with that sentiment, Teddy?
I do, yeah. Obviously, Bish and I went to the same college, so I saw Bish from an early age in our careers, and obviously his numbers speak for himself. And,
sure.
I didn't get to play against Vasilevskiy. He was kind of on my way out when he started really coming into his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, just listen to guys like Bish talk about him, Stammer and Cooch, the way they talk about him, how hard he works, how much he loves the game, how competitive he is, and then obviously the God-gifted ability he has too. On top of that,
sure.
He's pretty special, and I mean he's single-handedly. He could have been MVP in both of those playoff series. I know also 5 other guys could have been too.
Sure.
But I think it all starts back there, and they got one of the best.
So you were actually not drafted by an NHL team to kind of start your career. You played junior hockey for the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders of the USHL. You played your first season 07-08, and obviously Stammer came in 2008. What have you seen with his development, obviously coming in and the whole scene Stamkos at 18 years of age to where he's developed into his player in the game he is now?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see, being friends with him for such a long time. Obviously, when you're 18, 19, and 20, you're with all those expectations. You're coming in, you're wide-eyed. You don't know what's going on. Stammer was really lucky, and he'll be the first guy to tell you that he was surrounded by a lot of older veterans that kind of showed him the way. Before I got here, Mark Recchi was here, Gary Roberts, obviously Marty and Vinny. And then when, Vinny and Marty it was their team, Stammer was arguably could have been Stammer's team. Stammer scoring 50 and 60 back then. But
amazing.
He just learned from Marty and Vinny every day, and he eventually knew that he was going to be the captain and be the leader of this team. And his game has changed every year too, which is also pretty cool because a lot of those guys, you're drafted to score goals, and when Stammer wasn't scoring goals or when he was, not playing as well, he'd block shots, he'd go out, he'd fight sometimes,
right.
he'd use the body, he'd try to set the tone different ways. And he's involved in one of the best captains in the league, and like Bish said about Vassy, he's one of those Steve Yzerman type guys that can kind of do it all. And any time a captain leads your team to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals in this era is pretty special, and those guys rally around him really good.
Speaking of game developing, Stevie Y re-signed you in 2010, right? So you were traded at the deadline, I believe, in 2010, and that's where Halpy, right?
Yeah,
Jeff
for
Halpern,
helping,
who's
yeah.
now one of our coaches.
I know.
What a, full circle there. But so Guy Boucher comes in, and during his era here with the Lightning, it seemed like you blossomed under the Guy Boucher era. You had your first hat trick. You had 51 points, 17 points in 18 games during that 2011 playoff run, and re-signed. So what was it under Coach Boucher that really elevated your game, or you found in his system work for you?
I think it was a love-hate relationship. He gave me a lot of hard times too.
Sure.
But some of those times I needed a kick in the butt, and it helped me. I think he just instilled confidence in me right away. He gave me a chance to play with some really good players, gave me some opportunities on the power play, and I just kind of ran with it. And obviously we had a nice little run there in the playoffs, and then once you get to the playoffs after a pretty good regular season, it's just you don't think about anything anymore. You're not worried about the video. You're not worried about not playing well or staying in the lineup. You're just out there playing, and I think that really helped my career take off. And he loved the power play, and I was a guy that loved the power play too. So that he put me in a really good position to succeed there. And then a lot of shit hit the fan a couple of years after that. But I'm thankful for him and Stevie for giving me all those deals. I think I fooled them pretty good.
Yeah, no, I mean, and so Bish, you're a Colorado guy, right?
I was born there. Raised in St. Louis.
So what made you want to go to the University of Maine coming from Colorado?
Well, I moved back to St. Louis when I was 1, so I was only in Colorado for a year. When I was going through the recruiting process, when I went to Maine, I think the previous 8 goalies had all played in the NHL.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, they had a great coach, Grant Stambrook, that was kind of goalie guru back then, and he was developing all these guys. And so it was kind of, the big goalie schools like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Maine, they all had great goalie programs as also great teams.
Sure.
I think, like when Teddy and I were there, we went to, at that point, it was like 7 of 11 Final Fours, Frozen Fours at University of Maine. So it was obviously a great program and, great coaching. And so I went on a visit there, and when they offered a scholarship, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was a little bit further away from home than I was used to, but we had a great time. Yeah. We had a lot of fun there.
Led you to some great success. So you guys both have seen, obviously you a little bit more recent, but you both have seen the game of hockey evolve just in the time that you guys both played. What have you seen differently with the game today in 2023 than when you were playing?
I think just the speed and the overall how quick everyone and fast everyone is. I think I'm not trying to play GM here, but a lot of the times, they see a guy with speed and they're like, they can figure out, as long as he can skate, we can figure out and teach some of the IQ stuff later. So everyone's speed. Me personally, I think there's a little less IQ out there than before.
Okay.
Obviously, listen, the top guys are the top guys, and they're amazing to watch, and they're going to go down as some of the best players ever.
Absolutely.
But I think that's the biggest thing for me. I don't know about Bish as being a goalie, what you see.
I think the biggest thing I see is it's gotten so much younger. When I came in, there was all the older guys, the older vets that, you kind of had to, learn the way and whatnot. And now you go into the locker rooms and they're all, 25 years and younger, where, I think when we started, there was guys,
40.
Between 35 and 40, and there was probably 4 or 5 of those guys on every team. And just how much younger the league's gotten, and, to that is it's how
Superstars.
fast it's got. It's, as well. All these kids are, full of energy and don't get tired. So that's probably the biggest difference.
So each of you obviously had a different path to get to the NHL and the journey that got you along in your career. What were or just one of the most difficult lessons you had to learn to get to the professional level?
I mean, I wasn't drafted, so I didn't even when at Maine. We had a good team. We went to the Frozen Four. It was actually in Bish's hometown in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So I never thought NHL was a reality. I always wished I could do it.
Sure.
I just didn't have confidence in myself that I could play. I was the biggest hockey nerd ever. I was watching all the games, and I was
That's
like,
a fact.
and I was like, there's no chance I can play in this league next year. So I think for me, it was once I kind of grew a little bit and, had a good college year and was playing against first rounders in college and having success against them. I think the confidence thing kind of put me over the hump that, hey, maybe I can play here.
Sure.
And then once you get there, it's a grind. You can't, have a couple of bad games off in a row. And it's a selfish job. You got to take care of your body. You got to take care of yourself. You got to kind of block out the outside noise as much as you can while still trying to mix in some beers and have some fun as a single guy. So there's a lot of juggling. I learned how to juggle pretty good.
I'm sure. I mean, like you said too. I remember, like you said, when Stammer came into the league, I remember Gary Roberts and Mark Recchi, because I've been with this team now for 16 seasons. But I remember how much those two guys specifically were an impact on him and his training regimen, and telling him like the things that you're going to need to do to play at a high level. Were there any other guys that were like that for either one of you guys?
I came in. There was guys like Scott Thornton was in L.A. Rob Blake was there. They were 35. They were older guys.
Right.
And I mean, you took off their shirt. They looked like they were Derek Armstrong was the opposite of what you should do. Yeah. But those guys were they were jacked. They were in shape. They loved being in the gym. So they didn't have to say a lot. You just kind of look at them and saw that they've been in the league for over 15 years. So they're doing something right. Yeah. And then when I came here, I jumped on the Gary Roberts train because Stammer was training with them. Mike Smith was up there. BJ Crom being Downs. So I moved to Toronto and kind of jumped on that bandwagon.
Who about for you were those kind of influences for you to kind of take it to the next level?
I was just lucky enough, to play with a lot of, great goalie mates, throughout the years. Everybody kind of had their own little role that, led to success. The goalie position is a little different than the player's side. We don't have to have the 8-packs and be as strong as these guys. But, I had Ty Conklin, Manny Legacy, Alex Ald, some of these older guys when I was coming up, Mason and those guys just kind of showed me the way and told you what you needed to do and how to do it, and you just kind of followed their lead. And they were all super supportive guys. When I came in, none of them were, jerks or anything like that. They were also very supportive and kind of open arms, and something I, learned along the way that, when these kids are coming up and, eventually going to take your job, you might as well try to help them out and, teach them as much as possible before,
So when you started as a kid playing hockey, you played the forward position. And I know Kobe and I had talked to Mark, one of our trainers, about what is the right age to make that leap into a goalie position, because a lot of the guys felt that you don't want to start playing a goalie position at a very young age. You want to develop into the other part of the game before you take that goalie initiative. Do you agree with that sentiment? I mean, do you feel like playing a forward helped you to develop into that goalie role?
Absolutely. I think, you see some of the better goalies around the league, they're all great skaters. And, obviously to learn how to skate, if you start out as a forward, you're, skating all over, and you kind of learn a little bit of the hockey IQ as, even though you're younger, you kind of learn the ins and outs of, forward and defensive position. And then if you transition to the goalie side, I know when I did it was everybody took a turn, playing goalie. And when I did it, I loved it and I was pretty good at it. So they're like, all right, yeah, you can keep playing. And at that age, you're like, yeah, I get to play the whole game. I don't have to come off the ice type deal. And, but it would have been a lot more fun probably scoring more goals with these guys out there than
no doubt.
getting away with pucks all your career. But it was a lot of fun. I don't think there's a right age to get back to your question. I think it's just kind of a feel thing. If the kid loves it and wants to do it, let them go for it. And, it's hard to, say that they're going to make it even if they, whenever they start goalie.
Are your kids playing hockey? Are you?
Not yet. They're just kind of starting to learn to skate and whatnot. They're 2.5 and 4.5, so they're kind of
about the time. I mean, we've seen the commercial with Stammer and Hetty. If it's not on skates yet, as a baby, you're doing something wrong. But that's cool, man. So 30th anniversary Hall of Fame weekend. Pretty remarkable to have over 35 of our former players, alumni, back this weekend. Are there any guys that you're really looking forward to catching up with this weekend? Some old shenanigans and tomfoolery, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe. Bugsy's always a treat when he comes in. And I met Andrei Vasilevskiy a few years ago, and I was just laughing for 2 straight days.
I feel he needs his own podcast.
He needs a lot. Yeah, he's really funny, and him and Bugsy played together back in Pittsburgh back in the day. So I want to be a fly on the wall around those 2 guys for the next 48 hours here.
How about you, Bish? Who are you looking forward to hanging out with this weekend?
I mean, I think everybody, especially the guys we played with. Teddy and Bugsy and Brian Boyle and Callahan and those guys, and you go down the list, but just guys that that we had the opportunity to play with here. It'll be fun to see everybody and catch up.
Yeah, you. So he obviously gold medal wifey. You also have some pedigree in the family with professional sports. Your grandfather did he
played a little tennis back in the day. Yeah.
U.S. Open?
He played in a couple of U.S. Opens. Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did not know
Okay.
that.
Teaching today.
Back when it was on grass.
Back when it was on grass. That's pretty amazing.
A while ago.
It's in the pedigree. I mean, you see that from time to time. It seems like athletes kind of flock in the same realm together. All right, road stories. I know you guys have some that are PG rated, I should say. But everybody seems to have a good road story or a crazy story or something that they absolutely remember when they're teed up with that question. So we want to know from Teddy and from Bish, what's a crazy story that you recall from being on the road that you can actually share with us?
Did you not listen at the start of the episode when I said my wife was due in June?
I did.
No, a funny one that we always tell is Marty. Sometimes Marty would. This is a fun one for everybody. Marty would get on the plane or on the bus. We call it 2-beer buzz. Marty, he played 30 minutes a game, so if you give him one sip, and he's a little guy,
right?
So he'd have 2 or 3 beers, and Marty's on the bus telling jokes. Sometimes the jokes are awful. He's still laughing at his own jokes. So me and Stammer used to make sure we get off the bus first, and when you check into the hotel, all the keys are laid out.
Okay.
Bellick and Breezeman would have all the keys laid out.
Okay.
So basically, you go to the new hotel, might be midnight, look for your name, take your key, go up to your room, you're in. So we used to take a key. There used to be 2 keys in there. So we'd take one of ours and put it in Marty's and take Marty's with us.
Okay.
So we'd go right to Marty's room and hide in the closet or in the shower. So sometimes Marty come in and had to go use the washroom. He's sitting down with his little 2-beer buzz, turns on the lights, and we open the curtain. So then you can picture how scary that is. Or Marty would go to the closet to, take his coat off, put it in, and we'd jump out.
Oh my God.
So I mean, that one never got old. Just like I'm so glad no one did to me.
More than once on that?
Oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
I remember the one trip too where there was 3 different guys in the room. So we went to the bathroom, got scared. He thought it was over.
Yeah.
He went to the closet, thought it was over. And somebody was behind the curtains. 10, 15 minutes later, got him again.
That's hilarious, man. What about you, Bish? You can't be riding on his coattails. You got to give us another one.
That was always a good one.
That's hilarious.
Obviously going in the other guys' rooms with the keys. I don't know. Sometimes, when the guys would go with the trainers to go unload the gear at the, instead of getting off the plane and going to the hotel, you jump in with the trainers and go, empty the gear with them.
Right.
But now there's some funny videos from that back in the day. I can't think of it right off the top of my head.
Good. So, you guys, have had good careers. What has been the one defining moment that you would say of your NHL careers?
On the ice or?
On the ice, off the ice, whatever you feel is your biggest contribution or the one thing that you take away from your time in the National Hockey League.
I think my times here in Tampa, I was here for 5 years-ish, I think. Mm-hmm. But it felt like 15, just with how awesome the organization treats the players, the staff, everyone. Still talk to those guys to this day. It's, 7, 8 years later. The friendships that we had with those guys, we're still keep in touch. We used to go on a golf trip, 8 of us every year until COVID hit. Obviously the on-ice stuff, we lose to Boston in Game 7, 1-0. That's obviously disappointing. But
Sure.
At the end of the day, I think those friendships last a lifetime. Those memories are awesome. We'll have them forever. And how cool is it that, you go to war with these guys for 5 years and you're going to be lifelong friends forever. So, guys have been at each other's weddings. Guys have been in weddings. You get to meet the kids now. So it kind of evolves as time goes on. So that part's pretty special to me, to take those friendships away.
I've seen you at weddings.
Yeah, I used to take over some
weddings.
weddings.
Was it Hetty's wedding with the frame around your neck? And I was like, what's happening here right now?
They were trying to show off some dumb Swedish chant, and me and Breeze wouldn't let that happen, so we started taking over. But also, that's Hetty's fault. It doesn't go dark there in the summertime. So I thought I was just like, this is awesome. It must be like 1 o'clock,
right?
It was like 5 a.m.
It was bright as day outside.
Right out. Everyone had sunglasses on. It was awesome.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
How about you, Bish, man? What do you think is your, defining moment or the one thing that, you feel you took away from, the longevity of your career?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint. I think, obviously your first NHL game is a pretty big accomplishment. Everybody's, as kids, you want to make it, and then you get that opportunity. And I'd kind of go with what Teddy said. You know, Tampa was my first year where I was, you know, kind of the starter and, you know, had the opportunity to, you know, be the starter and whatnot. So that was kind of where it took off. And just like you said, the great organization, the great teammates, a lot of laughs on this team, and you know, kind of just stepping stone for the rest of the career. But yeah, I think it's hard to pick one thing. You know, obviously going to the finals was a lot of fun. A little bit more fun to, you know, come on the other side of it. But
for sure,
just having those opportunities, the playoffs are always, you know, the most fun at that time of the year when you're, you know, in the hotel with the guys all the time, and, you know, going city to city, the travel, you know, the plane rides and whatnot. Those are always some of the best times in the playoffs.
The Bish Please T-shirts were probably my favorite ones that we did. You weren't around for the
I saw them.
They were pretty awesome.
I think I bought a couple.
Did you buy like the Killorn ones? And
I didn't buy. I stayed away from
Harvard, straight out of Harvard. But the Bish Please, man, was probably one of my favorites of that era. And I still think you've left a very valuable mark on the franchise. Again, still being the first in so many different rankings for our team. I know you're still a fan favorite, you know, just as a representative of our Bolts Nation. And, you know, just a thank you to both of you, you know, for your contributions over the last 30 seasons of Tampa Bay Lightning hockey. And we know it's going to be an awesome Hall of Fame celebration, and we're super excited you guys were able to be a part of it this weekend. And congrats to you, Dad. You know, make sure you get some sleep over the next, you know, couple months, because you're going to not have a lot for a while there. And good luck with the dental procedures as well. And it's been a pleasure to have you guys on the Bolts Block Party. Hopefully it's not the last time we have you guys on. And we thank you both again for being a part of history here in Tampa Bay.
Anytime. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys. Bolts Block Party. Another episode's coming up. We got more alumni coming up for you guys very soon. So keep it right here. Thank you for subscribing. It's the Bolts Block Party.